if you haven't been following so far, please go and check out the other videos. But today we are not. It is another live stream. I do apologise that I am a little bit late today. That is because I've been faffing around and moving furniture and all some good stuff today. But I am here now. I'm a little bit late, but I'm still going to be doing another illustration for Inktober 2020. If you don't know the rules of Inktober 2020, it is a challenge for the whole month of Inktober, or October, as most normal people call it. But I will forever call it Inktober until the challenge completely disappears out of fashion. Hopefully it never will, because I really do enjoy seeing what my my illustration and my art can do without using any kind of pencil. As always, guys, the rules have been changed for Inktober, where you can use a pencil for your sketch artwork, but I am only going to be using a ink pen, and my ink pen that I'll be using is a Uniball fine liner 7.0 or 0.7. I can never get it right. And I will be using Copic markers to do some shading towards the end. So if you want to see how I can shade with these, don't forget you've got to wait until the end of the video. This is live, guys, so if you want to leave me a comment, you can do. I will see them pop up. I'll see them pop up around about here, and if I don't see them straight away, I will check every 15 minutes or so. And again, guys, I probably won't be talking too much once I've started illustrating, so we will be listening to some of more art from Comic Storian. If you are a fan of Comic Storian, go and check them out. They'll give you an introduction to who they are in a minute. But for now, I'm going to be getting on with that. But you need to know what the prompt word is. And again, if you don't know what the Inktober challenge is, you get 31 days of Inktober or October. You get a different word every single day of the month. And today's word is throw. As you can see here, I've decided to go with a throwing of a spear or a javelin or something like that. I've got a few references here. References. God, I can't talk today. I've got a few references here for you, well, for me personally. So I got the shape that I want, because getting the shape of the... Give me a second, burp. I'm going to burp there. I need a reference just for like the pose of that I want, because normally what I do is I shape. I'll draw out a shape, and I'll draw a shape, and I'll draw a shape, and I'll get the image as I go along with the sketching pencil. But I'm not going to use a pencil, and I'm only going to be using ink pen. So if you have checked out all the other ones, you'll know my tactics by now. Then I'll take. It'll be probably an hour or more for the illustration to completely be finished. So if you aren't going to be watching the whole stream, guys, don't forget you can watch this back at any time at all. It stays up on the channel. This is all I'll be doing for this month as well, guys. So if you are tuning in for some gaming, you'll have to wait until the end of the month. I have done some gaming over on twitch.tv if you want to go and check that out. Somebody is saying nice. Thank you very much. I'll give that a like. Yes. Lost where I was. So it'll be about an hour that I'll be doing this for. So if you can't watch the whole thing, don't worry, it will stay up on the channel, so you can come back and watch it anytime. I will be making a TikTok live here as well, so if you want to find out how I make my TikToks, then you'll be able to see how I go and along through. Let's get that TikTok up quickly. And I probably won't use music. I'll put the music in afterwards, just because I will get. Talk about my identity. Yeah. Shut up. I will get copyright. As you know, I don't want to get copyright. It's not the one. That's not we want on. That's not. Oh my God, I can't talk today. That's why I'm going to get on with the illustration. I'm a little bit late. I'm faffing. I'm rushing. Let's calm down a little bit. Deep breaths. Think about what we're going to be drawing. What are we going to be drawing today? We're going to be drawing a person throwing a spear, or a well. My idea was to take that form. I'm going to be putting wings on that character, similar to the wings here, but not that character there. It's going to be this sort of shape. Well, this will be the prompt. Oh my God, this will be what it kind of be looking like. But then I'm going to be making a scene out of it, like I did for yesterday's drawing. If you want to see how that turned out and how that one was coloured, that one again, it's all being recorded, and this is being recorded as well. And what I'm doing is putting all of the videos from each day into one giant video, which will be released at the end of the month. I probably won't be doing any talking over it, because that's what I do in the live streams. It'll just so you can see each drawing as it goes, nice and quick, so you just get to see the drawings of the drawing. And I'm also putting out a separate video for when I do the colouring. Again, I'll do the colouring off stream, because this will take probably about an hour, and an hour live is very much long enough for me. So yeah, let's get on and do some of this. I've got some Comic Storian, and we are listening to Tales of the Dark Multiverse, full story, Comic Storian. Again, Comic Storian, if you don't know who they are brilliant. They all do from DC Comics, they also do some Marvel, they do a lot of Marvel, they do a lot of DC. They also do comics from all over the place, things you've probably never heard of. So go and check them out. They are really good. I really enjoy listening to them, either in the evening for something to do while I'm drawing, or in the evening for something to relax me before I go to sleep. They're more style. It's like a little bedtime story, really. But yeah, comics, if you're a fan of them, go and check them out. Otherwise, I'm going to be getting on with this. I need to make that a little bit larger so I can see it. And yeah, let's get on, I think. Again, guys, if you've got any comments, I'm going to quickly check to see if anybody said hi before I start. I will be checking comments every 15 minutes. So, Alexa, set me a timer for 15 minutes, please.
15 minutes, starting now.
I'll check them now, but is there anybody there? No, there was somebody. They probably just popped off. Never mind. So yeah, let's get on with that, and let's get on with this. Again, I probably won't talk too much. I'll talk a little bit, but if you guys leave me a comment, I'll answer that one. Otherwise, I'm going to get on, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. If you do, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and if you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Again, my name is Blut084, BLUT084, Art and Games. TikTok, Instagram, and Twitch.tv.
My name is Benny, and I'll be your narrator. So a full story video is basically us taking multiple videos that we've already released on the channel, some that have come out over the course of weeks, months, and sometimes years, and turning it into a long-form video for you to enjoy. DC decided to do the Dark Multiverse, which is basically a twisted version of your favorite storylines. And they then created the Tales of the Dark Multiverse to give you more of an idea of what happens in the Dark Multiverse. So today we're going to be bringing you the first 5 of those, which as of right now are considered a full thing without any additional stories. That doesn't mean they won't make more later, but right now there are 5, and that's today's full story. Enjoy the Tales of the Dark Multiverse.
Just mapping it out with my brain. Try and see it before I do it. Sometimes that's difficult.
His ever-present gauge watching over the expanse of the multiverse. His power, his curse, is that he can move freely between the multiverse and its dark counterpart. He knows that a crisis is coming, possibly the greatest yet. He has come to stare into the dark abyss and see if any of these mutated worlds could be useful in the coming fight. To see if any of the heroes that are forged in the fires of fear can be useful in the upcoming crisis. He turns to a world not unlike.
Do I want to put wings? Because it might distract me from what I'm actually trying to draw.
He turns his mantle over to the one known as Jean-Paul Valley, who twists the vision of Batman into something darker, deadlier. And eventually, Bruce returns to retake his city.
Kind of want to put a hood on it. No, do you know, I could probably put the hood behind him. So that's. Let's just draw the head.
Blade through his chest. That was the end of Nightfall. Years pass. The city is purged in holy fire and it's rebuilt. And 30 years pass in a moment as Tempest watches. In the Dumas house, formerly known as Wayne Manor, Jean-Paul waits on the day's reports. His breathing is labored, as years of protecting his vision has taken its toll on him. Your city is secure, Madeline, his secretary, tells him. But there is an issue that requires your attention. Valley pulls on his armor. His breathing labored as Madeline informs him that they have apprehended an outsider in the city. The man, Luis Ramos, was smuggled in by Oswald Cobblepot. His assortment of weapons speak to his intentions, she tells him. She informs him of the events taking place throughout the United States, the panic and the pandemics. But Valley interrupts him. The outside world does not concern us. He tells her, giving orders to have Cobblepot and Ramos brought to the Torchbearer. But my presence will not be possible. I have other matters to attend to. He gasps at her, and she nods. Ah, yes. That's today, isn't it? She reaches out her hand, caressing the valley level. Must you really put yourself through that once more, she asks. But Jean-Paul nods, leaning heavily on the banister next to her.
Oh, the head face.
And what are we without the staples of tradition? Finally, he slides on his helmet, connecting the tubes to his back. The greenish liquid begins to flow, and the venom begins to pump into his system. Valley stands taller, his breathing no longer forced, and he crosses the cave, heading to his Batmobile. The Cardinal and the Torchbearer have my proxy. Make sure that judgment is served, he tells her over his shoulder. The sun begins to set over Wayne Manor, which is thrust to the heavens from the center of Gotham City. The end of the third Sunday, during the last month of the summer, a constant of our time together. Jean-Paul states.
I've never been good at faces.
At the top of the
Never
tower,
mind.
he reaches out his clawed
Guess
hand
I'm drawing that
in
then.
front of him. Yet today I wonder, will this be the day that changes everything? Will this be the day that you finally admit the truth? Bruce. Bruce hangs from the machine, having nothing more than a torso with his head attached to wires and tubes. His brain can be seen through a jar, pulsing gently. Bruce quickly deduces the reason that his forces have gathered in the center of Gotham. Cobblepot, I'm surprised it's taken you this long. Valley nods. So I have your approval. You have my disdain. The claws contract on Bruce's face, and whatever feeling he still has sends pain coursing through what's left of his body. Valley finally turns, noting that Bruce's seizures have grown worse every day. As always, I come offering peace. The simplest acknowledgement, and all of your pain will end. Bruce asks, what about Alfred, Tim, Dick? Valley turns. He tells Bruce that he did what none of them could. He kept Gotham standing. I was always the Batman that the city needed, Bruce. You only need to say it, and peace will find you. But Bruce refuses. You're weak, paranoid, and doped up on more and more venom. Your grasp is slipping. When the next crisis comes, and I promise you, it always comes, you will falter and you will fall. For a brief moment, the two stare at each other until Valley finally turns. Until next year, Bruce. He calls as he exits the chamber. In the city's center, Oswald Cobblepot and Luis Ramos kneel before the warriors known as the
That's a quick
Torchbearer.
illustration today. Like I said, I'm
There
running
is a
really
shaped
late.
Batman behind them. Oswald Cobblepot, you've been charged with aiding and abetting and facilitating access to weapons of war.
And I'll probably put him in like a Olympic
But Oswald attempts to interrupt.
sort of
Trying to
scene,
explain
because I
that
don't
he
want to
doesn't
just
know
do the
the man
illustration. I'm
that
trying to
met
turn
him.
it into a scene.
You
I
are
might even be able to...
found guilty. Your sentence is death.
No, I'm just going to draw a sportsman. I was going to do Blue Angel or Blue Angle throwing his thing, but I think it's going to be too complicated because I've got to colour this as well tonight. Nice and quick today, I think.
The blade cleaves his head from his shoulders, and before it can fall, the Torchbearer turns his gaze upon him. Luis Ramos, you have been charged with unlawful entry into Gotham City. But Ramos doesn't seem afraid, staring up into the holy flame, determination in his eyes. Do what you will. It doesn't change what is coming, he tells me. I am just the beginning. The blade falls once more, and the proceedings are finished. And the two men
Ooh,
turn
should I turn him into a
together.
Roman?
The Torchbearer raises the blade high. For Gotham!
I'm wearing a toga.
Darkened streets of the city echo with the cries.
Because that's where the
Even
Olympics
those
first
cries
started,
come
isn't
out
it?
a different sound fills the night air.
I'll leave that like that for a minute.
Explosions rocking through Gotham,
Have a think.
erupting one after another. In his bed, Valley sits up, trembles, bringing him out of his fitful sleep. He turns, looking out the window to see his city ablaze, the smoke creating a haze that hangs over Gotham in a cloud. Beneath the manor, he demands a report. Explosions, my love, Madeline tells him. Several acolyte halls have been targeted, and I don't know how many are dead. The screens suddenly flash, and the Torchbearer appears, forgiving his report. Heretics are flooding the streets, aided by a shadow army. They raid the main cathedral, trying to wrest control of the city. Sir, it's a coup. Determination and anger fill Jean-Paul's face. Then we'll meet them head on. He tells them, opening his armory to reveal rows of venom vials. Saint to sinner. Throughout the streets of Gotham, the police fight against their shadowy opponents. with so much death and destruction that no one even notices the single man crossing the river. The swim is easier than what we trained for. His simple reply, and quietly the young man begins to slip through the city, avoiding the fighting, using it to his advantage to stay unnoticed. Finally, he reaches the base of Wayne Tower, slipping through the shadows, removing the guards with a few well-placed strikes, and one turns, seeing him descend. The shadowy killer leaves him alive, though.
Alexa,
He makes his way toward...
set me 55 minutes on a timer.
Second timer, 55 minutes. Starting now.
In fact, I'm going to just record this quickly.
Bruce tries to turn, but he can't see over his shoulder. Who are you? The man removes his hood, revealing...
I'm going to record that just in case.
Here to save you and liberate Gotham. He tells the former Batman. But Bruce doesn't think the boys' plan will work. He knows that they aren't the first to try an assault on Gotham. Hands up! The police yell as they enter the chamber, weapons trained on the young assassin, but Turn just smiles, pulling up his hood and putting his mask back on. Did I forget to mention who my father was?
This is Kyle. He invented...
I really want a one wheel. Like badly want a one wheel.
boredom.
I've got a motorbike if anybody wants it.
Suddenly the boy
I can't get it to run, so if you are a mechanic and you want a project, it won't take much to get my bike going again. I just don't have the money myself to get it fixed.
Turn attacks, his blows cleaving the men in half, each punch breaking bones, each blow taking a man's life. And finally the soldiers lay dead around him with the boy returning to his normal size. I'm sure you're wondering where the tubes are, among other things. Turn informs him that his body produces the venom toxins naturally, the strange side effect of his father's constant use of the drug. The boy begins to cut Bruce free of the machine. The son of Bane and the one true Bat teaming up to save Gotham. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think? In the city streets, the fighting continues, but suddenly Saint Batman and his followers descend from the shadows. Saint Batman's claws slash and stab as Cardinal's machine gun fires rounds into the assaulting armies.
I don't actually know what
In the heat
Toby
of the
looks
battle,
like.
John Paul can hear a voice whispering in his ear. You can feel it as we yell. The tactics, the assaults designed to exhaust you. You are losing control. The ghostly voice from the past hisses, just as you did before. When they tug, the warrior's neck snaps in Saint Batman's hand, and he looks on at the battle. I will not fail. He gasps, falling to his knees. His men move to help him, but Valley waves them away when suddenly the comms begin to bark, and Madeline informs him that one of the explosions took out the retaining wall on the eastern coast. A portion of the city is starting to sink, she tells him. He turns back to his men, ordering them to take and hold the cathedral, and he activates the venom once more, feeling strong. I must deliver Gotham from ruin. Beneath the city, Turn is carrying Bruce through the sewers on his back. Did you ever meet him? Bruce asks, speaking of Bane. Memories of Saint Batman piercing Bane's chest with a blade flashing through his mind. Another seizure then pulses through Bruce's remains, and Turn is forced to put him down. Did he really amputate your limbs one every year? Saint Batman has conviction. Besieged by weakness, a voice calls out, and from the shadows, Lady Shiva steps out. Hello, Bruce. Propping him up against the wall, Shiva stands over her once enemy. She reminds him that a lifetime ago, he came to her wishing to train to reclaim his city. I've returned now to finish what we started. Why? Shiva tells him that Gotham has always been a beacon under Batman's protection. When you fell, when Gotham fell, something broke. If the world can see Batman fighting alongside the son of his worst enemy, the world can stand again. Shiva places a glowing device on the ground by Bruce, pressing a button. From the box, a cloud of stringed black begins to rise. I have the means to give your body back. The only question is, do you still have the will to become the Batman that the city needs? On the east coast of the city, Saint Batman stands, surveying the destruction. He leaps into the water, swimming deep into the swirling darkness, and one of the support pillars begins to fall. He presses hard, trying to push it back into place. The great Azrael, reduced to this, a ghost voice calls to him. He turns, seeing the ghostly image of Saint Dumas wavering in the darkened waters. Tell me, Jean-Paul, is this truly the way that it ends? The pillar shifts, beginning to topple and crush Valley beneath it. I've always been here, Jean-Paul, in your moments of great weakness to watch you fail. But the anger begins to course through Valley as he pushes the button to activate his venom intake. I am the one true Batman. He snarls, lifting the pillar. Even your time as Azrael, you never lived up to the mantle. Dumas tells him, you are a failure, an imitation. With a final shove, Saint Batman pushes the pillar back into place, saving this part of the city. I have saved the wall. I've stabilized the wall. You are wrong, Dumas. I have succeeded. The voice continues. Yet you will die in the same way that you lived. Suddenly the venom isn't enough, and the darkness begins to overtake Jean-Paul as he sinks deeper into the wall. Weak, unfulfilled, another man's placeholder.
Completely forgot to do TikTok. What an idiot. Give me a second.
The torchbearer and the cardinal look down upon their master, from him freeing his helmet, allowing him to breathe. Valley doesn't take long, though, demanding to know what happened to the cathedral. They tell him that the cathedral was secure, but the fighting continues in the streets. It'll be a long fight, but that is for another day, the torchbearer tells him. But Saint Batman struggles to his feet. No, we will not yield. All I require is a boost. Later, the pair dragged the weakened Valley to the Damas house, and in the cave below, every hour that passes, our enemy gains confidence.
It's too much running on my phone. Give me a sec.
Tells them, directing them to its venom cabin. But opening the drawer reveals it's empty, all the venom having disappeared. Lose something? It happens to the best of us. Turn calls out from behind them, and Valley stares at the intruders, his breathing labored. Shiva and the Spawn, I should have guessed. He demands to know how they found the cave, but Madeline appears behind him. She goes to him, her hands reaching for him lovingly, explaining that she can no longer stand by his side and aid a cause that she does not believe in. For a moment, Jean-Paul stares at the woman that has been by his side for decades.
I'll start off like that.
He tells her, and shock pulls across the woman's face.
Set it to 60. Start on slow. Just start it like that.
Blood pooling beneath her. And then Valley turns to the intruders. You invaded my soul. You broke into mine. You turned my wife.
Alexa, stop.
The two get ready for a fight as Turn pumps himself up. The torchbearer steps forward, igniting the sword in his hands. A child and a woman against us? You must all be mad. They're not alone. A voice snarls from the shadows. They have me! Batman calls from the dark ceiling of the cave, his body regrown, and the nanites swirling around him like tiny bats. Valley stares up at the dark savior of Gotham, screaming, Bruce, no! Slaughter them all! Shiva smiles, pressing a button, blowing up the computer, throwing their opponents to the floor. Turn steps forward, his body now massive with venom, and he lifts Jean-Paul to his feet, telling him that tonight it was designed to weaken him, exhausted. I've been waiting a long time to kill you.
Oh, maybe reference again. Although I kind of don't now.
Raises his hand, throwing Turn off with Sonic's built into the
no, I don't need me to reference. I'm going to bend this leg.
Throws his enemy away, crumpling to the ground. Shiva leaps forward, kicking Valley across the face, and elsewhere the torchbearer tries to pull Cardinal to his feet. But a cloud of nano bats swarm into him, ripping him off his feet, carrying him through the cave. They crash through the ceiling and into the darkness of the manor above, and quickly the Cardinal tries to follow. But the nano bats swarm around him as the voice of Batman fills his ears. Your saint told me that I needed stronger codes. I can see it now. I see what must be done. He tells him, and the Cardinal swings his wrist blades, trying to cut through the swarm. But as the cloud lessens, he sees the torchbearer before him. The Cardinal stares down at the blood that glistens on his blades, and at his friend's head, laying next to his body. The Cardinal screams in terror as the nanobats begin to swarm again. And in the cave below, Shiva and Saint Batman are locked in combat. She rains blows down on Jean-Paul, trying to finish the job, but they're distracted as the body of the Cardinal falls next to them. Using this moment as a distraction, Jean-Paul backhands her away, and he struggles to his feet, moving to the body of Turn. I have become reliant on venom. In time, I will abstain, but tonight I will find a new source. He reaches down, his clawed hands grasping the arm of Turn, and with a vicious snarl, he rips it free of Turn's body, blood spewing around the chamber. He throws Turn aside and begins to drink the venom-laced blood dripping from the arm. He smiles as the new energy begins to course through his body. Much better. He charges across the room, his fist slamming into Shiva, but suddenly, the swarm of nanobats is there, taking the image of Batman. Your time is over, Jean-Paul. He hisses, and behind him, Turn struggles to his feet, discovering the bladed gauntlet of Jean-Paul's Azrael armor. Jean-Paul reaches out for the solid form of Bruce, fighting against the swarm. You have no idea what I believe, Bruce. You never did. But Bruce sets off a taser, giving him and Shiva a moment of escape. As Jean-Paul struggles to his feet, quickly charged by Venom. I am the Batman of faith! He preaches, reaching out and lifting the giant penny over his head. But you, the only thing that ever motivated you was fear. He throws the penny, launching it across the room, flattening Batman and Shiva. He then lifts a boulder over his head, crossing the room to finish Bruce and Shiva off. I am too strong to fail. You were always destined to lose, to break, to fall aside in favor of the one true Batman. And then he stops. As a blade pierces his chest, the rock tumbles and Valley falls to his knees. Behind him, Turn grabs his body, bringing his knee hard into the man's spine, breaking his back. The heroes stand over their fallen enemy. It's over. You lost. Turn tells him as Jean-Paul can do nothing more than moan. Turn turns and looks at Shiva. Now they can reopen the city and reconnect Gotham to the world. They can give the world hope again. The world is broken. It's way too late for that, Batman tells them. Turn and Shiva turn to him, confused. What are you saying, Bruce? But Batman's eyes burn as the nanites swarm around him. You came here to save the city, to reconnect Gotham, to heal the wounds, but some wounds don't heal. Sometimes they have to be made new. It must take care of itself. What's good for the world is not good for Gotham. The nanite bats swarm, attacking Shiva and Turn, ripping them to pieces.
Okay, so we've got the main image.
Batman stands over Jean-Paul.
Let's give it another
Jean-Paul was right.
zoom in and out.
And he kept Gotham standing. But his biggest mistake was relying on anyone. So now, I'll never have to do it again. Batman tells him with an evil smile crossing his face. Gotham is mine, and I am hers. Tempest Huguenot looks on at this dark world, realizing that there is no aid.
Slurping me tea.
Casting his gaze elsewhere. The last view of this dark and broken world is Batman standing over the crucified body of Azrael, and the people of Gotham cheering him below. There is no hope for crisis here. Tempest Huguenot watches the crumbling earths of the dark multiverse, and he turns his watchful eyes upon another world. On our world, a crisis was stopped only when some of the greatest heroes from the new Earth and those that had fallen had come together. On this Earth, only one hero saw the crisis before it arrived, Ted Kord. But he was killed before he could act. Yet, what would happen if Ted Kord did not die? Tempest turns his eyes to an Earth where these events have played out. The hand of the OMAC drone grasps Ted around the throat, choking him. He's flung carelessly across the room, cracking hard into a wall. Falling to the ground, he slips into darkness. And when he awakes, he's restrained, kneeling in a dark room with blood dripping out of his mouth as he struggles to his feet. This is why I want you, Ted. You never back down. Maxwell Lord tells him from across the room, a smile upon his face. He crosses the room, telling Ted about how he has agents across the world and the Brother One satellite in the sky. And then he sighs, standing, pulling out his pistol. All I want is to put Earth's destiny in the hands of humans, not the people pretending to be human. You want me to join you? That's why you're telling me all of this join or die time? Ted asks, and Maxwell Lord nods, aiming his pistol at Ted's head. That's it exactly. Ted lowers his head and he agrees. Fine, you win, I'll join. Maxwell smiles, lowering his pistol, and he orders the AI known as Brother Eye to release Ted from his restraints. Ted stands quickly, swinging the heavy metal restraints and cracking Maxwell Lord across the face. That sounds great, Max! He picks up the fallen weapon, aiming it at Maxwell Lord's face, but the villain just smirks. He's known Ted for years and knows that he will not pull the trigger. That gunshot echoes through the room as Maxwell falls to the ground, a look of frozen shock remaining on his face. Brother One begins to sound the alarm, and Ted turns to the monitor, trying to reason with the machine. You're smart, aren't you? More than smart, you're sentient? He asks. He tells the computer to search its databases for Ted Kord. He wants the computer to see the man that he is. Maxwell Lord promised you that you would help save the world, and I can help you do that. A voice then sounds from behind him, and Ted turns to see Sasha Bordeaux, the Black King. Ted reasons with her and tells her that Maxwell had the right idea. The world has gone dark, and it needs heroes, needs saving. Will you help me, Sasha? Through a viewer in another reality, a group watches the scene unfold. That's the spirit, Superman whispers. 2 weeks pass, and Booster Gold is running through the halls of the Justice League Watchtower on the moon. He charges into the control room, demanding to know where Blue Beetle is. Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman all turn, demanding to know what Booster is even talking about. He yells at them, telling them that Blue Beetle came to each of them with intel that he had uncovered, and they each blew him off. You should think for a second about who you're threatening, Booster. Batman warns him, but Booster finally storms out of the room, telling the team that whatever happens to Beetle is on their heads. He's not wrong, Clark, Diana states, turning to Superman. I know, Diana. Later, Batman meets with Sasha Bordeaux, his mole within the Checkmate organization, and she fills him in on what Ted has accomplished in the last 2 weeks. Using the Brother One satellite, Ted Kord has uncovered an international secret society of supervillains that are led by Lex Luthor. From there, he learns of a second rival group of supervillains and recruited them into
Turn on
Checkmate, creating his
side.
own
I'm going to put him in a
Secret Six.
Coliseum.
He's been able to deduce the identity of their ringleader, Mockingbird. But give him a few days. He discovered that Jean Loring had gotten her hands on the black diamond of Eclipso, but he managed to take her and the diamond into custody, and then he sought out the wizard Shazam, asking how to control the power of the Spectre before he got out of control. This is unnerving, Sasha. You should have come to me sooner. This is too much power in the hands of someone not up to the challenge of wielding it. And from the shadows, a voice interrupts them. Harsh, Batman. Ted steps out, telling Sasha to leave them be. Yes, Black King. She nods, and Batman looks on as Ted explains that the Justice League doesn't understand how bad things have gotten and how much worse they could have gotten. I need to speak with the League. We're going to want a voice in the process. With all due respect, that's not going to happen, Batman. This is my problem, not yours. Stick to Gotham City. Ted begins to walk out with Sasha shadowing. You're going to need to answer for the death of Max Lord, Batman growls, and Ted stops, turning to his former ally. Maybe it's time that Bruce Wayne answered for the large number of crimes you've committed in that cowl. Or you can keep your distance and let me work, Bruce. The choice is yours. Later, Ted sits within Checkmate Castle in the Swiss Alps with Booster Gold standing before him. Behind him, the monitors of Brother Eye watch on. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you're all right, Ted tells him, and Booster is trying to figure out what is even going on. Ted, I got blown up, and when I came to, nobody had heard anything about whether you were alive or dead for weeks, Booster tells his friend. Quickly, Ted fills him in on the events that have taken place, about how he's doing work that is bigger than anything they've done before. You were the one that told me what made us special was that we were the little guys, that we weren't these high and mighty gods, Booster. Ted smiles, pulling his mask off to show Booster his face. Booster, it's still me. I'm still an ordinary guy. That's what this is all about, he tells him. Booster pulls off his own mask, his face showing concern for his friend. The Ted I've known would be scared of the power that you've consolidated here. He would have never gone this far. But Ted tries to make his friend understand how close they came to a crisis unlike any the Earth has seen before. The Justice League were too busy fighting with each other to even notice, but I did. And now I'm doing something about it, because I'm the only one who can. You sound like Max. You know that, right? Booster points out, and for a moment, anger flashes across Ted's face, and he seems to be masked in the shadows. I am nothing like Maxwell Lord. Maxwell was going to make this so much worse, and that's why I had to kill him. Shock crosses Booster's face as he looks at his friend, but once again, Ted tries to ask Booster to join his cause, to help him uncover the identity of the Mockingbird. But Booster pulls back on his mask, opening up one of the high windows in the castle. Sounds like you've got it under control, he tells his friend as he flies away. Later, Ted flies the bug airship through the Arctic, his Checkmate squad behind him, and he calls over his shoulder. Zeroing in on the Mockingbird's signal. We need to keep focus. Using the bug's lasers, they blast a hole in the secret base's ceiling, and they fast rope descend inside. The team moves quick and quiet, weapons at the ready, and Ted rounds a corner, stopping short in surprise. Lex Luthor is laying on the ground in front of him, dead. His neck twisted around at a strange angle, and nearby, Deathstroke is in a similar position. Oh God, Sasha gasped. Something ripped Black Adam in half. Ted nods, telling her that he doesn't know anyone on Earth powerful enough to do that. This Earth, perhaps, a voice calls as the door opens to reveal Lex Luthor. The team aims their weapons, surprised to see that there are now two Lex Luthors. And suddenly a blur passes through the room, and Ted looks to find his entire team dead. How? You murdered them all! He gasps, and the blur stops, revealing an angered Superboy. It's all your fault! You ruined everything! He yells, eyes burning with anger. Lex warps, revealing his true appearance. My name is Alexander Luthor, he tells Ted as he begins to float. I am the son of Lex Luthor of a world once designated Earth 3. Quickly, Alex tells Ted of the former crisis, of their plan to remake the world as it should be, to create a perfect Earth. You would end billions of lives? Ted asks, staring at the two of them in shock. As they gloat, a voice echoes in Ted's head, and it's Brother Eye asking for Ted to give him autonomous control so that he can eliminate the two of them. No, stand down, Brother Eye, so I can handle this, Ted thinks. And finally, he turns to Luther, explaining that he can create the perfect Earth if he had their power. In a few weeks, I've done more to build a better world than you've done in years. And if I had your kind of firepower, I could make it count. I could make it last. Alexander raises an eyebrow to him. Do you really think that you can berate me into giving up? Ted shakes his head, looking over the man's shoulder. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the person with the power to save the world. Alexander turns, surprised to see Superboy considering the hero's offer. He's right, Alex. You've been playing dress-up with supervillains while I've actually been helping people. Superboy snarls, and Alex smiles, his arm transforming into a kryptonite cannon. I was always expecting that I'd have to finish this myself. Suddenly, the group is interrupted as two people walk in, and Ted looks on at the elderly versions of Superman and Lois. Pity. You would have been useful in what was going to come next, but I suppose it was always going to end this way. Alexander sighs, turning the cannon on the pair and firing. The radiation hits the elderly Superman and Lois, burning their skin from their bones and killing them instantly. Superboy screams in anger, turning his heat vision on Alexander and incinerating him. Ted stares at the smoking corpse as Superboy runs over, cradling the remains of his two friends. They were so good, Ted. They were so much better than the rest of us. Ted comes over, putting his hand on the young man's shoulder. I promise you, we'll make a world that this Superman would be proud of. He then orders Superboy to bring the Monitor's tuning fork back to the Checkmate Castle, and in his control room he has Brother Eye interfacing with it. I want you to compile the greatest threats to the safety of the Earth. Tell me who we need to stop to put the world at peace. The Eye looks on from the screen, processing the data, and finally an image appears, and Ted opens his eyes in surprise. The image shows that the greatest threat to this world is the Justice League standing proud. The greatest threat to the Earth are the costume vigilantes calling themselves superheroes. Brother Eye tells him.
There isn't much I need to do here than, like, text to the sand, maybe.
The controls. Decrease the superhero population by 50% and you decrease the threats by 50%. The math is complete and absolute. The most peaceful Earths in the multiverse feature no costume vigilantes. Brother Eye tells him in a cold, calculated voice. Ted stops arguing, rubbing his neck. Then show me, damn it, just show me. Hours pass, and Ted finally radios to Superboy in orbit, who's been watching the heroes of Earth, his mind twisted and angry as Ted's voice calls out to him. I need you to take out a target for me and then round up the teen heroes of Earth. He tells him, can you handle yourself? Superboy smiles, his eyes glowing with heat. Yeah, can you? Later, Superman flies to the ruins of the Justice League Tower, where he can find no sign of Jean. He floats back down, joining Batman, who holds the tower's
Give me a second instead of, oh my god, so stupid.
Walking in, and the trio mentioned that they believe that they know who's behind the attack. You can't believe that all of this was him, Diana asks her comrades. Ted Kord is involved. We should have acted to dismantle Checkmate the second he started making threats. Batman growls, but Superman stops them, cocking his head to the side. Something's wrong. I can hear screaming in Kansas. Over in San Francisco, the Teen Titans rush out of their tower, with Connor Kent falling out of the sky, cracking the concrete. You know, I'm not supposed to hurt any of you unless you resist. Superboy calls out from above, a dark smile on his face. I'm begging you, please resist. The Titans turn, launching themselves at this villain. And on the moon, Ted leaps from the shadows, now clad in armor that he made from the dead Anti-Monitor. He orders Brother Eye to attack Batman first, and he fires a blast, which Wonder Woman quickly deflects. But Ted Kord moves around her.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Not bad for a quick illustration. I'm going to quickly record that a second.
He tells them, I'm not trying to kill any of you. I'm recruiting. I want to assure you that you'll be a part of what's next. Energy crackling.
I like the way that's
Superman
looking.
struggles to his feet. Even with new power, you can't defeat all of us, he tells him. But Ted just smiles. Like I said, I'm recruiting. The heroes look down, shocked, as the nanites from Brother Eye begin to crawl up their bodies. I've tailored the original OMAC nanovirus to each of your genetic structures. I'm afraid there's no fighting back at this point. Completely overtaken, the 3 new OMAC drones stand before their master. And with their task complete, Ted radios to Superboy on Earth. Little busy here! Superboy yells
Let's
back,
get some of
roaring
these
at
lines
the
a bit
hero as he
fatter
turns
and...
his heat vision and melts the flesh of Kid
Pain,
Flash.
my hands are so sweaty.
He tells Ted.
Right.
Superboy lashes out, killing another hero with a punch, and suddenly he looks down as the nanites are crawling
Just
up
to give
his
the
skin.
darker
What have you
areas
done?
actual darker
He
bits.
screams. You weren't supposed to hurt anybody, Superboy. And if you can't be trusted to follow commands, you'll be assimilated with the rest of them. Ted tells him, already arriving on the scene with his OMAC drones. The drones leap into the fight, engaging with the remaining heroes. OMACs, deploy the nanovirus, assimilate all costumed heroes. I want as few casualties as possible. He turns on the battlefield, though, as a voice calls out his name. Booster Gold lands amongst the carnage as the other heroes enter the fight behind him. That does not sound like the man that I've known for years. The man who doesn't have acceptable casualties. Ted turns, trying to explain to his friend, but the Brother Eye satellite turns, watching the scene, and it requests that Ted give up the emotional centers of his brain so that he will think more rationally. Ted, that thing is in your mind. It's twisting you. It's making you into something you never would have recognized. Booster tries to explain to his friend. You don't understand, Ted yells, explosions erupting behind him. This is about stopping a crisis in its tracks! Booster nods, raising the pistol in his hand and aiming it at his friend, Ted Cord. It's exactly what this is about. He whispers, I'm so sorry. But Brother Eye activates the defense in Ted's new suit, shooting a laser that pierces Booster Gold's chest. He runs to his fallen friend, cradling the dead hero in his arms, screaming.
Adds just a little bit more to it by
the work remains unfinished. You cannot
using a black line to outline certain things, but not everything. Just makes it pop and just gives it more define to it. But you'll want to be careful because I can ruin it really easily. Or if you're doing it yourself, you can ruin it really easy by putting the wrong colour in the wrong, well, the wrong darkness. Because I already put quite a bit in there already, and I don't want to put too much. Just want to accentuate certain bits.
Being formerly known as Ted Cord. He watches as in the dark multiverse, Ted becomes his world's greatest villain.
Okay, so let's go with a light grey.
The vastness of the multiverse. He is the guardian against the dark multiverse, and he can see the multiverse spinning around him, feeling its warm light. But now there is a darkness. Worlds are wrapped.
Seeing the light's coming from this angle now.
Why does it always return, he questions. No matter what they do, the darkness always comes back. It feeds upon worlds, breaking stories, poisoning them. None of these stories are safe, not even the greatest of stories. And he looks to a world, seeing a Superman fighting to the death with the mighty Doomsday. He falls, as he always does, and the woman he loves runs to his side, holding him in the last moments of his life. Lois Lane stares into the sky, her eyes close as tears are spilling out. And her eyes open again, but they're filled with anger as she looks around at the heroes that have gathered. Now, when they have already failed the greatest among them. You have failed him, she whispers, and Batman steps forward, trying to offer words of comfort. He needed you, and you failed him. She turns, her words spitting froth in anger. You let him die alone! Where were you? Where were any of you? Days pass and Metropolis is silent with the funeral of its greatest protector. Lois watches on as the heroes stand front and center. They weren't there when Superman died, but they're there now, because they loved to be seen. She stands in the crowd, tears in her eyes, barely able to see the ceremony. And she watches as they pull free the cloth, revealing the golden statue of the Man of Steel. She barely hears the words of Lex Luthor, one of Superman's greatest enemies. She sees all of this, knowing that Superman would be disgusted by it. She walks throughout the city, passing merchants as they try to make money off of Superman's death. And for a brief moment, she thinks that maybe his death will change things. Yet, a few weeks later, she's sitting at her desk in the Daily Planet reading the headlines. She knows that nothing has changed. The world is moving on without their Superman, so she goes to visit Martha in Smallville, seeing the people who raised him, who couldn't even go to their own son's funeral. Jonathan was in the hospital. His heart was failing after watching his son die. And she cries, and Lois does her best to console her. Time passes, and Lois finally journeys to the fortress in the far north. She walks inside, standing before the great statues of Clark's Kryptonian parents. And in the darkness of the fortress, the robots buzz around, seemingly lost. Tears fill her eyes as she places the tattered cape beneath the statues. The only thing that his parents could spare to send with him. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocks the fortress, and Lois is thrown to the icy floor. No! No! A voice screams as energy cracks around the room. I am too late! The being is made of pure energy, and it flies into the room, and Lois looks up at this glowing being. Who are you? She asks. The Eradicator, protector of Krypton, reborn to defend the last son of the House of El. He explains that he took Kal-El's body from his tomb and placed him into a Kryptonian life matrix to re-energize his cells. But he was too late. He truly is gone. I have failed him, he tells her, and she nods, agreeing that they have both failed the Man of Steel. So the Eradicator roars in pain as the energy from the life matrix burns within him. He tells her that he cannot contain the power. There must be a Kryptonian. Lois stares up at the being, determination suddenly appearing in her eyes, pushing past the tears. Use me, she tells him. And the Eradicator looks stunned at her. He knows that Lois's body can't handle the power, but she begs him, telling him that she loved Clark. You wish to carry on his battle. No, I wish to end it.
There you go, guys.
So the Eradicator
Surprisingly quick, but
with energy coursing through her body. The fortress
I'm more than happy with that. I'm gonna pause that there. I'm more than happy with that. That's a quick.
Sorry, I don't know that. But you have Tell Lord Vader enabled. Do
Okay.
you want to open it?
Alexa, stop. Shut up, you stupid machine. But yeah, this quick, nice, quick and easy. But there is another drawing, and today again was Inktober. Today's word was throw, and hopefully you guys out there have enjoyed it. Again, if you want to watch any of the others, don't forget to go and check out the Creation Station playlist. There will be links at the end if you're watching back. But otherwise, guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join me again on Saturday, day 10, for the next prompt and the next word of Inktober 2020. Otherwise, guys, hopefully you have enjoyed yourself. I definitely have, because I've never drawn a quick picture so quickly and so detailed. Anyway, thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow!